On to another New York team, the real dumpster fire in New York, and that's the Giants. They did get John Harbaugh to try to drag them out of the cellar. And everybody's excited for his pairing with Jackson Dart. Listen to Jackson Dart speak glowingly about playing for John Harbaugh.
He loves the way that I play the game. And I think that was one thing that kind of, drawn our relationship from a competitive standpoint. Like, he knows how much, I love the sport. How passionate I am to go out there and compete at a high level, and he's the exact same way. So I can't wait to play for a coach like him who instills like a relentless mindset from his coaching staff to his players to the whole organization. So, he's kind of just the general.
Very good vibes around the New York Giants. Big Blue is about to reemerge. Right now this morning, I've got them winning the NFC East. Philadelphia second.
Stop it. Come on. Is that real?
Yeah.
You're going on record with that.
Yeah.
Tell the team to put that on social media. Let's see the reaction.
No, I think
win the NFC East.
Yeah.
I'll take the other side of that bet. Can we get that on one of these prediction markets so I can make a fortune? I mean, Colin, seriously, win the NFC East.
Yes.
Let me just remind you of Jackson Dart's record last year. 4-8, 15 tutties, 5 picks, sacked 35 times.
Well, they're going to draft a right tackle probably with their first pick.
Okay.
So they're going to solve their O-line. Neighbors comes back. So does Scattaboo. They've got plenty of, and Jackson Dart now gets a better coach, and he gets a second year. Yeah, listen,
I thought there's going to be Brian Daboll. I thought Brian Daboll was a great offensive mind.
I think Brian Daboll did a good job, but John Harbaugh's resume is much more impressive.
Oh, this is genuinely amusing. I cannot wait to dive into this topic from multiple angles because the layers here are absolutely fascinating. First, let's remember the recent history. It was treated as an absolute catastrophe when Brian Daboll wasn't retained alongside Josh Allen, when he didn't end up with the Eagles, when he made the choice to go to Tennessee, all of that narrative frenzy. The consensus was that he is this brilliant offensive mind, this quarterback whisperer, and therefore you would naturally expect someone like Jackson Dart to extract maximum benefit from his coaching, at the very least on an individual level. So that is one dimension worth exploring. Then we have Jackson Dart himself making a statement that John Harbaugh loves the way he plays the game. Now, Colin was just saying that Dart fundamentally needs to change his approach, to alter his playing style. That is not what a young quarterback wants to hear, obviously. You would prefer to hear something like, your game needs to evolve, it needs to grow, which is a softer, more palatable way of saying the same thing. Honestly, Colin was ready to move on from Dart entirely. Do the easy thing, just move on from Jackson Dart, was the sentiment. And now, here we are, with people suggesting the Giants might win the NFC East. I absolutely love the entire situation. I love every contradictory piece of it. Let's be realistic about one fundamental truth. Harbaugh's influence on Jackson Dart is not actually the critical factor here, for the simple reason that Harbaugh is not the offensive architect. He is not designing the plays or crafting the passing game. The hard truth is that Jackson Dart's game absolutely does need to evolve. It needs to change. Let me be perfectly clear about my own perspective. I love watching Jackson Dart play football. I genuinely enjoy it. I love the energy he brings, the juice, the palpable excitement. I even defended the chaotic celebrations after they beat the Eagles, the dancing, the mayhem. I understand that is probably not sustainable as a long-term culture. But given the absolute wilderness the New York Giants have wandered through for years, I am totally on board with them enjoying some moments of joy. However, I still want to see genuine evolution in his game. And to be completely honest, despite all my praise and excitement about Dart, I am not thrilled about him actually saying, John Harbaugh loves the way I play the game. That specific quote lands strangely. It is actually a weirder soundbite than most people probably recognize. I am not entirely certain I can articulate this perfectly, but it carries a different weight than it might seem on the surface. The comment comes across as somewhat self-centered. It has an egocentric undertone that gives me pause. It reflects a level of self-focus that, when you are talking about a young quarterback who still needs significant development, who needs to grow and evolve his game, feels a bit too reminiscent of Kyler Murray for my personal comfort. Dan Orlovsky had an excellent breakdown of this dynamic when he discussed Kyler Murray's response to questions about what the team needed to improve. Murray's answer was essentially, I need to have the ball, I need to make more plays. Orlovsky unpacked that beautifully, illustrating why that mindset is actually counterproductive. He was applying that same framework to the hypothetical of Kyler Murray going to Minnesota and how that would mesh with Kevin O'Connell's system. So when Dart responds to criticism, to people saying he needs to change his approach, by essentially saying, well, my coach loves the way I play, it feels like a deflection. It feels like a counter-argument that avoids self-reflection. And I just do not love that response. I am being completely transparent with you all. I keep it 100%. Now, let me be equally clear about something else. I firmly believe Jackson Dart had a genuinely impressive rookie season. That is why, when people like J-Max start citing his win-loss record or how many sacks he took, I push back. Are you expecting Jackson Dart to have been perfect? The Giants were an absolute mess. They fired their head coach mid-season. They were decimated by injuries across the roster. And despite all of that chaos, Dart was relatively successful, all things considered. Several of those wins were directly attributable to him making plays, doing everything within his power just to keep his team competitive, let alone secure victories. That is actually quite impressive. Incredibly impressive even. So we do not need to get lost in the exact touchdown to interception ratio or the sack numbers or any of those surface-level statistics. Yes, Jackson Dart needs to improve. He needs to grow and become a better quarterback in his second season than he was in his first. Great. Glad we established that obvious truth. Now, do I think the Giants are actually going to win the NFC East? I think they will certainly be better than they have been in recent years. I have been on record expressing encouragement about the direction of the Giants and my belief in Jackson Dart's potential. But it is not clear to me yet. I think Harbaugh brings a level of maturity and organizational structure that the franchise has desperately lacked. That undoubtedly helps. However, my current assessment, and this could evolve as the offseason continues, is that the Giants have raised their floor this offseason with the coaching hires and organizational changes. But the ceiling? I have not seen that raised yet. The floor is higher, absolutely. But the ceiling remains where it was. And here is my perspective on Harbaugh generally. If you are a struggling franchise, a team that cannot seem to find any consistent positive direction, hiring a Harbaugh is an excellent move. He stabilizes things. But if you are looking to usher in a new era, to hit the reset button with a young quarterback and a promising young core, Malik Neighbors, Tyrone Tracy Jr., guys like that. If you are trying to take it to the next level, Harbaugh is not necessarily the guy for that specific mission. If you told me the Giants had hired, say, Cliff Kingsbury, the guy who just coordinated a dynamic offense, I would feel infinitely better about their trajectory. Infinitely better. That would signal something different to me. I would look at that and think, all right, I do not know if the floor is necessarily raised, but the potential for the ceiling is through the roof. That type of hire ushers in a new era. That signals a philosophical shift. Harbaugh signals stability and competitiveness. But does he signal innovation and ceiling raising? That is less clear to me. I am also genuinely curious about the relationship between Harbaugh and Dart moving forward. I discussed this in a previous video, the evolution of Jackson Dart's game and the inherent recklessness in his playing style. Many people correctly pointed out in the comments that you do not want to coach that out of him entirely. A lot of what makes him special is that willingness to take risks, to make something out of nothing. I read those comments, and I agree with that sentiment. It is a delicate balance. This is precisely what makes Andy Reid so exceptional at his job. He has done this dance repeatedly, with Michael Vick, with Donovan McNabb, obviously with Patrick Mahomes. He understands how to handle quarterbacks with diverse tools in their arsenal. Who would have extracted the best version of Lamar Jackson? Andy Reid, more than Sean McVay, more than Kyle Shanahan. Reid has consistently demonstrated the ability to balance a quarterback who operates like Steph Curry shooting logo threes. You do not love that he does it constantly, but you have to let him do it sometimes, while also knowing when to rein him in. He has done this for over 2 decades. When you are coaching a quarterback with that kind of varied skill set, and Jackson Dart fits that description, whether people fully recognize it or not, it becomes significantly more complicated. It requires balance. Harbaugh struggled with that balance in Baltimore with Lamar Jackson. Now, it is not entirely his fault. Lamar's presence and stature within that organization were massive. But Harbaugh is the head coach. He is, as Dart said, the general. The dynamic will be different in New York, Because Harbaugh has significantly more power and control than he ever had with the Ravens. That was Lamar Jackson's team, unequivocally. And I do not think it is ever optimal when the quarterback, regardless of who it is, Mahomes, Allen, Brady, anyone, becomes the de facto leader over the coach. The coach needs to be the man. The coach needs to be the true general. Not the quarterback, not the tight end, not the owner, the coach. When the coach walks into the room, everyone needs to listen. That is how functional organizations operate. Harbaugh did not have that dynamic in Baltimore. I'm curious whether that was his fault, whether he allowed it to happen by being too much of a player's coach, or whether it was simply the organic evolution of a situation that got away from him. So yes, for the first time in a long while, the New York Giants are legitimately interesting. Legitimately interesting in a positive way. I want to be very clear that I mean that as a compliment. There are real questions to be answered, real dynamics to observe, real development to track. Those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you all think about the New York Giants, about the Harbaugh-Dart partnership? How are you feeling about their prospects? Are they winning the NFC East? Are they reclaiming relevance? Let me know your perspective. I read every single comment that comes through, so whether you agree with me or disagree completely, either way, let's generate some discussion. Let's get into some spirited debates. But ultimately, let's just have fun with it. Please do consider subscribing to the channel. We are building an amazing community here, and I genuinely love seeing you be part of it. My goal is to create something we all feel genuinely connected to, something we are truly excited to be part of. I believe we are well on our way to making that happen. Do not forget to give this video a thumbs up. It genuinely helps with visibility and keeps the algorithm happy. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.